Hey, what's up, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be doing the Siege of Cyrene, so buckle up. It is going to be a hell of an adventure. The scenario presented here is 3 Parthian armies trying to hold out against 3 attacking armies. We do have a bit of a sallying forth, or an attempt to do so, that is quickly going to be called off in the face of the bombardments coming in here. So on one gate, we have a bunch of cataphracts. This is going to be one of our allies here who brought a full cataphract build in a siege. We'll see if that pays off. So you can see a Athenian army with a lot of their siege equipment pressing here. They're getting some nice damage on our units, slingers and all that. But this is an awesome citadel. We have some archers on the high ground here to suppress anything that pushes forward. On this flank here, you have this ginormous, almost Acropolis citadel on the top. We have more rows of slingers and archers that can overlook this entire patio. Temples and other mounts like that, so we have a lot of units out there, and of course the famous flaming balls guarding the top. Within the keep, we have some of our artillery. Bastion artillery going to start sniping at the enemy forces, so it's going to be the Seleucids and then the Bactrian units. So interesting scenario. We do have a little bit of not a portcullis so much, but a bit of a secret exit that we can take here. The enemy decided not to assault this place because it's pretty hard with one way in, but this is going to be our way to assault the enemy. And it looks like we found a couple hillmen who found themselves at trying to infiltrate the flanks of our mega structure here. They're trying to expose the flanks, try and find their way up, but it looks like they have instead found trouble. So now our Bactrians, or excuse me, our Eastern cataphracts and Royal cataphracts are going to be surrounding them. On the front of this here, the combined force is going to be pressing forward with a lot of siege engines, siege towers, and especially the huge battering rams that can take out walls. So we're going to try suppressing that. I was manning the artillery battery right there to try and get some shots on. Further down the line, it looks like the walls are going to start to be compromised. Always thought it was cool how they had scorpions up through the top, so they were going to be here to provide suppressing fire. This entire section is going to collapse pretty handedly. We didn't have enough forces to stretch out and support this. What we did have, however, was Indy Pride manning this eastern bastion, the artillery piece, and he was going about and sniping left and right a ton of units. But look at what they've got coming for us. A whole bunch of thorax swordsmen, Thoreos spears, and up through the front, more thorax swordsmen. So they were going to be crawling up the walls. We can watch this. So Cyrene is in for some trouble. On top of this is the fact that we are doing a 4v3. So that is why you're seeing such overwhelming numbers in our opponent's favor. Now they've taken the walls, and now they can start to overlook what's happening to the city, and it's surprisingly quiet on this front. So they're going to be seizing the gate here. What we decided to do is pull back to the plazas. So no sense holding this very vulnerable position. What we decided to pull back, and we're going to contend with them in the city streets itself. Where we are going to put up more of a fight is going to be over in this position, where my crew has been continuing to fire upon the enemy. They are taking shelters in some of their siege equipment, but now they've finally actually made a giant hole in the wall. They're going to be starting to pour up through the top. That's exactly why we have slingers, scorpions in the distance there, so we're going to do everything we can to suppress this position. We can go back and rejoin the hillmen that have been effectively slaughtered in that little enclave, and now Indy is going to be running roughshod through this enemy force here with the cataphracts, essentially smiting down their weaker numbers. The enemy is continuing to bombard our position, but what we're hoping to do is stampede through here, charge through their forces, really knock them out to the point where we wouldn't have to worry about this flank. So we are routing a lot of the Athenian skirmishers. They are reinforcing with some of their hoplites. So we're going to go ahead and pull out of that position, but not without picking up some nice significant victories right through there. Indy with 213 kills, 100 kills right there, so being super cost effective, and then he's going to detach from that fight. The fire is still raining down on the city, And I do recommend that you guys check this city out. Cyrene is very, very cool. I mean, look at that massive citadel acropolis on top, looking really cool. You could even do a combined land and sea assault on the city. There is an opening for that, but we decided not to do that just yet. So we're going to be holding strong here. Most of our units have decided to pull back from this position just because we're getting so much pain put on us. So we've pulled back here, and we're going to allow the walls basically here to suppress anything pushing through that position. If we go back to what's happened over here, the enemy has claimed these positions. But what we've been doing is trying to shoot at them with our slingers. Another unit's up close. I brought in some of my Parthian swordsmen to get really near, so they're going to be just here to check the progress of this force. See all the slings coming in here, pelting these guys, so shield side it's not going to do too much damage. But that's why I'm going to now threaten a charge once they've been sufficiently weakened. Full volley is going to clean up this last unit, and now they have about a handful of men to hold out against my charge. Looks like I decide better of that because they're threatening to pull in reinforcements. What I wanted to do is allow for one more volley from my slingers and then kill these guys. And the whole point of that was to delay the capture of this, so you can see the control of this tower is going to be yielded at this point, so I'm going to hold these forces back. On this flank, what we've done is I have some of my cheap eastern spearmen just positioned in the front, try and pin these forces, and they're going to get a rather helpful volley against my javelins here. But what I'm trying to do is pin his forces from the front with my eastern spearmen, which are cheap. And now you can see I've disengaged my javelins. The javelins are going to try and position themselves on the flank here to just shower these guys. You'll also notice that I have some units running up the stairs. This is something that's really underutilized in sieges nowadays. It's the fact that you can get up here, but look at this superior position. So as in all my sieges, it's about superior positioning, making the most use of your units. So cheap units right down the center. You can see there to hold his guys. And then from the top and from the flank, we're going to be absolutely massacring the enemy swordsmen. So making most use of these choke points. They do have a bunch of more units. Syrian archers starting to move up. And they're going to try and suppress our units in the back. Some Cartly axemen who are going to be thrown into this fight. But yeah, we're cleaning house on those units. You can see them completely obliterated in the face of Eastern Spearmen. Eastern Spearmen getting one kill, but it's these Javelin men that are getting, or Peltas that are getting a ton of kills. Cartly axemen here to reinforce and hold this position. On this front, I pulled back some of my Parthian swordsmen. No need to commit them as more enemy forces pour into the city. You can see a lot of their thorax pikemen moving up. What the enemy is doing here is moving forward with these huge clusters of units in massive mobs as they push through here. So this is going to be more than enough to sweep away any of our resistance. So we're having to yield the plaza bit by bit. So they're going to be capturing this here. They're doing a lot of these sweep and clear maneuvers through these positions as well. Thoreau's spears pushing through the front, swordsmen in the back, so being very effective blocking off our avenues. So my units that were lurking in the back here, Sarmatian Lancers, have been forced to pull back. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to set up a nice position where once these guys get out in the open, I'm going to have Parthian swordsmen, mercenary hoplites on either flank, and then what I'm starting to do is put my elite Persian archers in this position and then archers in that position. So whichever way he goes, I have the potential to shoot him in the back. So these Parthian archers are going to be able to cover my units over there if they get engaged. Same thing with those other archers. So this is how we're going to hold these plazas. The enemy is going to be held at bay in this case. They're not really sure what to do. And then we're kind of circling around with some of our cavalry. In this position, they are going to start to threaten this assault. So a nice coordinated push. If we go back to this position, you can see all of our guys are gone. That's because we've decided to do a withdrawal. The enemy charged forward and kind of cleared out our skirmishers from the top, so they're chasing them away. So my javelin men are trying to vacate these positions. That's essentially the name of the game, is we're trying to trade cost effectively, yielding positions when we need to. So the enemy has held firm here now that they've secured this plaza, and they're going to be pushing forward some swords on the right. But his guys are exposed, and now take a look at their exposed rear. They're going to be taking massive amounts of damage from my Parthian archers. So my strategy of getting the enemy out in the open and targeting them in the rear is going to be very, very useful. And what we're hoping to do is knock out some of their key units, the spears for instance, and once those are taken out, we can pull in with a lot of our royal cataphracts in the distance. But let's get some nice shots as Cyrene starts to be lost. See me pulling some of my Sarmatians over on the flank, and now they're going to come in for a nice charge into his guys while my men in the distance start to rally. So I'm just getting in, disrupting with my light units. Going to disrupt his whole sword formation, and this is going to allow me to then come in for another assault. His volley there only kills one of my men. And with the Cartly Axemen, we're going to be able to, our Parthian swordsmen, we're going to be able to charge and hold this. Hoplites here to guard against his men, and then the Persian archers there to suppress his guys. His thorax swordsman lost about 20 men, and here with my Sarmatians, I'm charging his men, soaking up those volleys. So, and then they're counter-charging into the rear here. So we're doing a lot of work with just a couple units. Over here, we've been forced back. Rural cataphracts, a lot of guys guarding these positions to try and hold the enemy back. Over here, we're forced to pull back even further. Some of the thorax pikemen are trying to pursue our guys, and this is now where they're going to start to get suppressed by our citadel, which is obviously going to be in a key position here. All about the flanking shots. In the distance, however, you can see we've had to yield the outer positions, but not without a massive body count on the opponent's side. Over here, you can see what's left over. We massacred a lot of the enemy units, but the majority of them have now made their way on the inside. We are now getting our slingers in position, but for the most part, we're getting all of our forces over here. The enemy is starting to infiltrate our backlines with thorax swordsmen along the docks. Over on the front lines here, we're holding pretty strong. That engaged 58 against 107 of my healthy units. We should win. And now some of these royal cataphracts are lining up for some sweet hammer and anvils. So, like I said, we're going to try and clean this up, get as cost effective as possible. The enemy, however, has a lot of units with a lot of precursors, so they're going to start to swallow up our units. They have Stereo spears, which are excellent against our guys, so Indy here is going to try and pull through, but not without taking significant HP damage. So his unit broke through there. So now we're going to try and do a tactical retreat back to another plaza. As you can see, they're threatening our rear, so all the time we're being forced back. They have now seized control of this plaza. Moving forward, just systematically, like I said, pushing through the city, and now I'm going to have to fall back to the choke point. This is where I have its strength. Look at those nice obelisks. This is a beautiful city. But like I said, the goal is to hold the choke points. So I have my swordsman positioned here at the choke point, and then Persian archers on the flank, so that once these guys get engaged, I can shoot them in the flank. And that's how we're going to win these engagements. Get a nice volley. And the archers, I mean, you could not have an easier target than this, right into the rear of these guys. So let's watch. Yeah, just picking these guys apart. So in this type of engagement, we should be able to win, which is exactly why the enemy is going to be pouring in more and more numbers to try and overwhelm our position. And it looks like they're going to give some movement orders to try and get past, or at least overwhelm our forces here. So 3 versus 1, they will win that fight. And you can see they're pulling through, trying to get to my archers. And they know how key that's going to be, so that's going to be dangerous. So I'm going to pull out of that position, and I'm going to pull back some of my own Parthian swordsmen to reinforce that. Over in the distance, the enemy is infiltrating our rear. This is threatening our force here that's trying to pull back and retreat. We've had to yield the plaza, leaving back some of our hoplites, which have finally been killed in this mess. So the enemy claiming every single bit of the city piecemeal, the Thureos spears and light peltas, forcing our units back, so we're fighting block by block. Over in this position, the enemy tried to pull through with their thorax pikemen, which was a noble endeavor, but finally we were able to kill them with a combination of tower fire and slingers to support. And keep in mind we still have some of the flaming balls here held in reserve, so that's going to be kind of our ace in the hole. In this position, the enemy is continuing to try and push through. They did send some of their cheap hillmen against our guys on a suicide mission to set off some of the balls. We stopped them at the stairs here, the bloody steps. So our guys are rallying, but every time we sally forth to take out cheap units like the hillmen, they're going to be able to get some nice volleys against us with their Cyrene archers. You can see those shots starting to pepper our guys. No one going down. At least among the cataphracts, but yeah, it's going to be doing more and more HP damage, so we're forced to pull back. The enemy has called it quits on this flank for now, but they are going to be taking fire damage. Some of these pits are flaming, but here come the reinforcements. Median Cav, other units going to start swarming up through here. So this is going to be the next point where we're defending. Mercenary hoplites with slinger fire to suppress the hell out of what's in this position, so we should be pretty good. Over here in this flank, where I've been able to hold these guys back, my Parthian swordsmen are still alive and kicking. My archers got a lot of kills, 101, absolutely destroyed these triple threat coming through there. However, now with their massive blob of units committing to this fight, with all their precursor javelins, they're able to force my archers back. So now that they've been able to do that, and with fresh reinforcements, means that this blockade is essentially going to be lost. Even though more and more of his guys are retreating, and it looks like I pulled back some of my Persian archers to keep firing into this blob. So these Parthian swordsmen are going to trade extremely cost effectively. They know that this is a problem, so they're going to be charging in with some of their thorax swordsmen. But now is when we're going to unveil our cavalry force. So here comes the cataphracts within a city, within the palm trees and the colonnades, charging through, absolutely wrecking these guys. So the cataphracts charging through into this blob, trying to reinforce my Parthian swordsmen. A lot of rallies and abilities being popped here. So this is where we could potentially win if we can crack through these swordsmen. This will be very beneficial for us. So yeah, we're going to try and suppress this. If we can break through, then it's nothing but weak, light peltas units. If we can kill that, then we can essentially gut this entire force. So the cataphracts are doing as much as they can for hammer and anvils. I did pull 2 Persian light archers from the citadel into this position to try and reinforce to get at the flanks. However, the Athenian army is in hot pursuit, so this was perhaps not the best of choices. So I'm going to try and get around the flank. But that's the story of what's going on here. Or on this front, the enemy is charging headlong with Median Cav on one flank, trying to get through our guys, just flattening the Cartly axemen. I'm going to continue to do hammer and anvils here. Thankfully, they can't set these flaming balls alight. But over here, we are also facing repeated assaults. Against hoplites, we should hold this pretty strong. I did send some Eastern Spearmen through here, getting a couple kills just to soak up the charges from these Median Cav. Over on this front, looks like the balls were set off by, again, some suicidal hillman units. So the enemy is being extremely cautious in how they do these assaults, using a lot of these cheap light troops to get in the mix, tank our guys, bring them into range of the enemy archers. And then what they did is they ran up here and suicided in to set off some of the fireballs. So that is going to be very key for them. Those fireballs can be exceedingly devastating. The Peltas here with 18 kills and the Cartly Axemen with 172, so they've beaten back multiple waves. But now the waves are going to get substantially tougher. Thorax swordsmen are being poured in, more reinforcements, an entire other army. They're still in reserve pulling in. We do have our Scorpions here, which have gotten 60 kills. They're going to be pulling back into this gauntlet. And don't forget that we have Eastern Slingers here with 125 kills, just suppressing the shit out of anything trying to push through this position. So we are fighting tooth and nail. The other units up here, also with 105 kills, continuing to, pepper those units at a distance. And over on this front, these slingers also got, a lot of experience on a lot of kills, harassing those units. On this flank where we've committed a lot, our units are going to start to get bogged down and surrounded. But look at the carnage we've caused. The enemy is going to start to prove overwhelming. And here come the Athenian units from the rear. This is the pincer movement that we were really scared of, and we were not able to keep that Athenian force back, because like I said, there were 4 enemy armies as opposed to our 3 defending, so we just got overwhelmed and we could not hold this force back. Thankfully, the Royal Cataphracts from our general is going to pull back. Looks like he's going to try and extradite himself from this position, but the enemy have claimed this force. This choking point has been killed. Over here, the enemy pushed forward. It looks like I did miss the flaming balls going off. However, from what I recall from the battle, they didn't actually end up rolling down the hill. You can see no kills to be had. They actually just ended up burning out at the top. So the enemy being lucky in that case. Slowly grinding through our guys, but these Cartly Axemen are having a field day chopping through these hoplites. on this force. We've been able to hold back the enemy tide. Again, Median Cav pushing in for another charge. The tower is here a godsend, taking a lot of that Cav, every single shot basically killing a unit. So we're holding strong here, but the Bactrian Peltas doing a lot of damage as well. My archers that I had sent out to try and reinforce were actually caught out by the overwhelming number of units. The enemy Cav here coming and killing my guys, so we really should have retreated everything back to the keep. Anything out here was basically eaten by the enemy armies, so the lower city has essentially been lost. I think we have no holdings on the outside besides a couple marauding cataphracts. This is the last kind of outskirts of the city that we are still holding, with mercenary Peltas trying to get some flanking shots, but that is it. That's all that we have left. The enemy is continuing to pour through with numbers here, so the tide is being held here at the same position the entire game. Towers in enfilading positions. The enemy is trying to pull through to try and get a, some debuffs against our guys from attacking from the rear. But our Cartly Axemen are, how much are they at? 67 kills, doing work. The enemy is just going to continue to feed in units, and the Cyrene archers they're firing, into everything. 128 kills on the slingers. 105 kills. What we're going to try and do actually is sally out. The enemy has cleared out this terrain, so what we're going to try and do is block this pass, and then with some of our royal cataphracts we're going to position ourselves into the rear of the enemy force. And what we're thinking is, the enemy has outstretched themselves, and look at all these weak vulnerable units. If we can charge into the back of these Peltas, knock out this unit, then we should be able to rally this front and then reclaim some of the lost ground. So that's exactly what we're doing with some of our guys in here. My archers in the back have been lost. So like I said, we've yielded that position, and all of our allied cataphracts out here have been killed. The key point, though, is that we still hold the high ground. I'm pulling up some of my eastern slingers here, 95 kills, triple experience. They're going to be just destroying that force. Tower here. So now the enemy, yes, they've cleared the outside, but if they can't crack this inner perimeter, then we're going to be able to hold this indefinitely and allow the arrow towers to do the work that they need to get done. Enemy has pushed through. We have some cataphracts here to try and reinforce. It seems to be going pretty well, and this is getting bloodier and bloodier and bloodier by the minute. It looks like the enemy has almost exhausted itself on this side, but just as we were to start thinking that there are 4 completely fresh Thorax Swordsman units ready to throw themselves into this fight, whereas we only really have 1 Cartly Axeman unit against these healthy units, and then cataphracts cycle charging into this. So we'll see if we can hold. In this position, we've pulled some cataphracts, getting ready to assault this area. The enemy realized that this was a severe threat to their entire force, so they repositioned a lot of units here. What I'm going to be doing is charging forward with my depleted Peltas units. They have no ammo left, so I'm going to be charging forward just to soak up all the enemy skirmishing shots. I'm going to charge in here, tie them down. That's going to create an opening for my cataphracts to now charge in against this pinned unit. So I'm trying to do a lot of damage here. Indy is also going to be coming around that flank. I have some more units. Gonna charge roughshod through his guys. Just clean house. So now we're gonna start to punish these forces. Broke one of the Thorax Swordsmen, and then here we're still holding strong on the top, so this is gonna be our counter assault. Some of my archers are gonna try and hit the general's unit. The eastern cataphracts did go down, however, mostly due to the fact that they have all of these hoplites and still healthy units in the mix that have precursor javelins, so that was a good build for our opponents. It's build meant to whittle us down. My guys here raking up 50 kills, only losing 1 of their cataphracts, so I would say this was a cost-effective raid. And now we're going to pull out. So it was cost-effective in the sense we traded, but not very effective in the sense that we didn't get the strategic results that we wanted, which was to threaten the enemy rear and countercharge the blobs of infantry up on the stairs. We are going to be able to go after the general. Hopefully try and land a nice kill. The rest of the enemy cav continuing to pour up through there, trying to get past the stairs, but that is going to be fruitless for the time being. We are still holding on just by the skin of our teeth. A mercenary Peltas unit with 90 kills here is all that's holding back 3 units. So we've almost essentially yielded this position. Not looking good for us. Over on this front, look at all that fire that you just saw there. That's all the kills from these arrow towers, so they are doing work. We're trying to hold strong by the flaming balls here, as the Athenian army is going to try and push everything through this position. Over here, the enemy has found its way into our ranks. Now they've kind of cracked open this position. Cataphracts are all exhausted from the cycle charging that they've done, and over here we've lost this position essentially. Some of my Mercenary hoplites are trying to come back to hold firm, but yeah, this is going to be very, very tough. Like I said, it's the last fight for the citadel, and this is where it's going to happen. So over in this position, India and I are kind of wavering about when we're going to try and unleash these fireballs. We really want to kill the Athenian army that's down there. Look at that huge blob of men. So we're debating when is the key moment. We don't want it to be too soon or too late. What we're going to decide to do is go ahead and unleash it. So those balls are going to come down, and it's going to just roll through this entire force through here. We're now going to unleash the second set of flaming balls. So here comes this force thinking that they can get through the citadel. And look how many men this is. You can see the flames starting to go up through there. This force is now cheering. Oh my god. I have never seen that many kills, and it's going to continue to roll through the enemy force. Look at how many guys just went down due to those flaming balls. Look at that. That is the power of the flaming balls. You'll recall that the flaming balls have no mass, and so they'll run through anything, and on a hill like this, they will tear through an enemy force. Nonetheless, the Athenian player is still going to continue pushing through despite losing. I mean, look at his guys. They're all down to 33, 20, 60. They're all at half strength. That flaming ball took out half of every single unit. They're still going to push through, and it is a testament to just how many numbers we're facing that did not phase them. On this front, we are cracking. So all along the front lines, our units are cracking. My hoplites over there, not able to get back in time to block this position, so cataphracts are going to have to do that. We're trying to hold back the enemy force here. Our slingers still suppressing whatever they can. The enemy has decided that they want to shut these towers up, so they've sent one of their swordsmen to try and claim this position. The front lines over here have finally been yielded. The Syrian archers, the units that have been firing at us from a distance, kind of proving the high watermark of the enemy advance. Now they've made it to the corpse-filled choke point. Man, this is ridiculous with the scorpion here embedded in and amongst the corpses. Such an absurd battle. And now they're going to start peppering our guys. We know we can't allow them to shut down our towers because they are a major source of our killing potential. But it does get neutralized with shield wall and all that. We're hoping to break them. It does not happen. On this front, I sacrifice some of my Eastern Slingers with 160 kills almost at this point, trying to slow down this Athenian push with half strength. I want to keep them back. The reason for that is because I'm pulling back a Royal Cataphract unit that is tired and exhausted. The enemy has captured this arrow tower, so I'm going to be taking damage. What I'm trying to do is bring him to the back, and if I can hammer and anvil this from both sides, we could clean up the Athenian army. I'm charging from the front, getting a ton of kills in the process. But this Athenian army is fresh, so it still has all its precursors, and this is going to be devastating to our remaining guys here who are low on HP, low on morale. Our Scorpion unit still here with 111 kills, finally trying to hold strong, shooting point blank into the enemy force. Cataphracts trying to clear the enemy out in the open ground. And it is not looking good for us. On the far side, looks like somehow we're holding strong with some of our Cartly axemen still there. You can see them holding out, but if we pop on the HUD, you can see, this is how many men? 13 men holding back this entire enemy force. My hoplites doing everything they can to hold this position. They have 129 kills, holding strong, but the cavalry is going to be the one that does us in. Here come my cataphracts from the rear. They finally made it through, and just as I predicted, they are going to be killing the weak, unprotected rear of the enemy force. And now they're going for their prize target, which is going to be the Athenian hoplite unit charging into the rear. So now we've got them sandwiched on both sides. they're going to start to pop their abilities, but the Athenian hoplite is actually pretty weak. Like I said, now they're going to start to crumble. They're losing some men here and there. You can see the peltas and other units are starting to break. Now we get through to the archers, so a bit of a saving grace point for us. So we're starting to recover the central area. However, swordsmen, fresh swordsmen in particular, are going to be the bane of this fight. This is going to be very devastating for us. We can knock out the hoplites from the rear, but swordsmen can pivot on a dime and have pretty average stats in general, which is all you really need to get in and win this fight. So the Athenian army is starting to crack here, not necessarily buckling just yet. So here is the Athenian general that I decide to target with my own cataphracts, and the goal of this is if we can take out and kill the Athenian general, that'll spell doom for his remaining force, which will free up our cataphracts to get more kills. 138 kills on those guys, and there you go, the enemy general has broken, and that is gonna, you know, cripple the morale of the Athenians. They're still somewhat holding strong, but I know I just need to land one final strike to the rear to break them. On this front, however, our Kartli axemen have been broken. Hoplites still standing strong. Persian light archers continue to pick apart at the enemy force, but you can see just how many reinforcements they have. Here goes the remainder of the Athenian army. But with it go my cataphract units. So we killed an entire Athenian army with just 4 or 5 units combined, some fireballs, and the cataphracts here with 222 kills, 157 here. But that's going to be it. The enemy reinforcements are going to pour in. The Rayo Spear is the perfect counter for our guys. They're now going to dismount them. And so finally, the enemy banner is going to be raised in Cyrene. This has been an epic siege. Really enjoyed this one. The odds were definitely stacked against us with 4 entire enemy armies to our 3. Plus the fact that one of our allies brought essentially a cataphract only build for a siege. Had he brought more swordsmen and archers and things like that, I think we could have held up much better. The cataphracts were key towards the end, but not really in the beginning and late game, so that's what caused the enemy to have such high numbers through to the end. Had we had more swordsmen would have been able to chew through some of these spears that the enemy has here, and so I think that was essentially our downfall. Parthia not particularly strong in the sieges, but that's fine. The point of these battles is not to win. The point is to have fun, and I definitely did in this game. Really epic. So kudos to our opponents for fighting a very strategic kind of sweeping strategy to take out all of our different positions. That was very effective. So yeah, I think they earned this victory. Definitely won it, but not without Pyrrhic losses. I mean, look at all of these kills. Every single inch of this territory we fought tooth and nail for, but it was not enough, and you can definitely see where the mass killing happened. My archer is still somehow alive. They're confused as to what's going on, but man, look at the density of bodies. Everything that was fought here, crazy stuff, and especially in this position where we killed, you know, half of the Athenian army. That was just brutal. So let's end the replay and let's go ahead and look at some of the stats here. So like I said, Indy and myself were on this team with, you know, 1,700 men apiece. Our ally Scuba Steve only brought 510 units, all cataphract and 1 slinger, so he was definitely the impediment to our force. I mean, he got 328 kills compared to Indy's 2,241 and my own almost 1,800 kills. So, you know, not only were we down 3 to 4, but we were essentially, you know, playing with 2 1/4 armies against 4 armies, each with more men total than us. Yeah, very fun stuff. So let's look at my units. So cataphracts getting a lot of kills. The archers firing almost non-stop. These Persian light archers were the ones who got caught out later in the battle and essentially run down as they were trying to come in and you know, reinforce my position, but we got overwhelmed before they could get in place. So that was the major blunder from my side. Had I kept these guys till the end of the fight, safe in the citadel, I think they could have turned the tide in some key areas. Swordsmen doing pretty well. Eastern Spearmen not doing very well, but they're mostly a holding force for the peltas to rake in the kills. Scuba Steve here, like I said, not being very effective with his cataphracts. Even his slingers not doing very well. Indy here getting a lot of kills with the scorpions in the choke points. Our own royal cataphracts doing very well, used more effectively than Scuba Steve's. His slingers raking in the kills. Hillman with 65 is pretty impressive, and then the Kartli Axemen just going to town. On the enemy force, the Seleucid player here basically just brought all swords and a couple of fodder units. The swords getting pretty good kills apiece. Syrian archers, I think, were doing a good job. War Machine here, the Athenian army, he didn't really do very much this battle. All the kills he got were essentially against our cataphracts when they got pincered. The rest of his force kind of melted away. So yeah, not much to talk about for that guy. Mr. Wise Guy here, these pikemen got shredded. Again, I think it was just the vast number of swordsmen that they brought to bear that killed us in the end. Yeah, the swordsmen on all the enemy armies doing a lot of kills. The Thoreos and Scale Hoplites not doing too much. So yeah, I think against overwhelming odds we did exceedingly well, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. A valiant defeat, to be sure. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.